Today I have the Love Story Scrapbooking Workshop Kit on my desk. It has such a fun love and Valentine's Day theme. And I really love these kits because you get a whole bunch of pattern paper as well as some exclusive prints that are only in the kit. Here you can see the paper front and back, so you get a really nice selection. Plus you get the two-toned cardstock, so that means you have lighter on one side and darker on the other of the same color. And then of course all the fun bits you need to make a layout, like stickers. I love all the little wordy bits. That's always the things that I want to bring in on my pages. And then die cuts. These are paper die cuts that you just pop right out. This one has a huge heart on it. And then some of these fun swirly hearts. I did luck out this time. Somehow I ended up with 2 sheets of these die cuts, which is really going to help me out because I want to make an extra layout out of this kit. So here are the directions that come in the kit. You can see the layouts that are designed to be made with the supplies that you get in this kit. So we have some definitely Valentine's, but also my sweet little one could be any kind of kid photos, pet photos. These ones you can see they have pet photos and could be anything with all my heart. And then one that's a little bit more Valentine's-y over here with that huge heart. Now typically I make these on Zoom with my customers. And so we make them together live. We usually pre-cut our paper and then build them together. Lots of times I will add to them or switch things around and just kind of add my own twist. But we haven't gotten together yet this month, and so I need to save the pieces from this kit that I need to make these layouts. So I was looking through the cutting guide, and some of these guides you use up almost every paper that comes in the pack, and sometimes you have a little bit more to play with. I think if I cut a little bit smarter on some of these, I can save some extra paper, and I should have enough to use for another layout, maybe even a couple of cards. So we'll see what we end up with. I'm going to be using this sketch that I created for my Crafty Hearts team. I do a challenge every month, and we've been doing sketch challenges lately, which are really fun, and I love participating as well. So this one I thought would work really good because if I only have little bits of paper left, I was thinking it should be easy to die cut out hearts from all the different patterns, and then it doesn't matter if I don't have a ton of one pattern. So this is the general plan for what I want to do with the remainders of this kit. And what I need to start off first is just cutting my pieces and setting aside all the pieces that I need to make the workshop layouts and see what we have left over to create with. Unfortunately, I won't have the finished pages to show you yet, but you can always watch my social media, Instagram, Facebook, and usually I do post the finished layouts over there. I've been working my way through the cutting. I'm almost finished, and I think I'm gonna have way more paper left than I thought I was going to. Quite often there'll be no full sheets left, but it looks like I have 2 full sheets to play with, so this might change my ideas of what I was gonna do on my layout. So I love having extra options. I just wanted to show you, as I'm going through the cutting guide, I'm looking for ways to get my paper in as big a chunks as possible. A lot of time, if you follow the cutting guide exactly, you're going to end up with lots of tiny little pieces, which is fine if you want to do like a project with scraps or something like that. But my goal with this was to get my pieces in as big a chunks as possible so that it's easier for me to die cut it up and not be left with a bunch of like small, awkward little pieces. So for example, this is my last one that I need to cut. And so I'm going to do this cut first. I'm not gonna follow the scissors. These are here to show you which one to do first. They always put the little scissors there to tell you where to cut first. And instead of that, I'm going to make this cut first. Now, because this doesn't have a measurement, I need to do a little bit of math. And the width measurement, so across like this, is always listed first. So this piece is 4 1/4, this piece is 4 1/4. So that would give me 8 1/2. So if I cut this piece at 8 1/2, that will give me the largest scrap possible. So I have this nice chunk left. And then because I've cut that already, I can rotate this and cut the bottom. Now you want to go with the longest measurement, not looking at this side. This one's a little bit longer. So we're going to cut this across. Instead of having two little pieces, we'll have one slightly larger piece. So for that, I need to add the heights together. So 3, 6, 9 and 3/4. Now you just have to keep track of how you've rotated your paper. You may even find it helpful to make little notes on your cutting guide so that you keep track of, you know, which direction it needs to be facing, what size your finished piece should be. But now I can go ahead, follow the cutting guide, put this in at 4 1/4. I did rotate it back, so this is face up just like it would be on here. Okay, so now I can go in to 4 1/4. And I'm just going to leave this piece here for a second. I want to finish cutting this piece while I'm keeping track of which direction it's facing. I do alternate between using the top of my trimmer and the bottom of my trimmer. I prefer to actually cut along the bottom. So if there was an arm going out the bottom, that's usually where I would cut. And so now I need to cut the 3 1/4 measurements on here. So I need to put this in at 3 1/4. Okay, so we've got those, and those are going to layout number 2. Just a second, I'll show you what that looks like, how I stack everything up. Now here is our last strip. We're going to rotate this and cut it at 6 1/4. So 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and then this one needs to be 3 1/4, so we're just going to have to trim just a little bit off of that one. So here is everything I have left. Hopefully I didn't mess anything up because I feel like I have a lot left over, a lot more than I had expected. But we got some good size cardstock pieces. Got some red cardstock, which is nice. Some of these are exclusive papers that are only in the scrapbooking kit, not in the DSP pack. And then we got this pattern. This is maybe my favorite. And this, and then these two little pieces here. And then a few little bit smaller pieces. I would have ended up with way more of these little pieces if I followed the guide exactly. And as I'm cutting my pieces, I have pulled out the ones that are to be the base pages. And I have just stacked all the pieces for layout 1, all the pieces for layout 2, and then all the pieces for layout 3. And then I will go through and I will print my photos that are going for each of those layouts, put them in the pile. And then it's up to you if you want to go and do the little punch outs. These actually have what layout they go to. So project 3, project 2, project 1. You can go ahead, pop those out and put them in your pile as well, which just speeds up your process later. So I will set these aside until my Zoom, and then I can pull out my photos that I want to use on today's layout. These are some pictures from last year. And we did just like a cute little Valentine's photo shoot, and I got some really cute pictures. She did get a bag full of fun little treats for Valentine's. And then of course Frankie got in there. He didn't get much. He got lots of cuddles and maybe a couple treats. And they're having a little sniff and kiss there. So cute. But I think this is going to go perfectly with my patterns. And because I have all these different patterns, I think I want to do white cardstock for my base pages. Originally, my thought was to use this paper because I knew I was going to have a lot of it left over to be my 2 panels of paper that's running down my page. Not quite this wide, I'm going to make it a little bit narrower. Because I had to switch orientations while cutting this one is short, but I could cut it at 6 inches, cut that in half, and then put 1 square up and then 1 square below. Because the middle is hidden by the hearts, so this is actually a really good design to use 6x6 paper if you have that. I was also thinking I could use this embossing folder. This is called Hearts of Love 3D embossing folder, and I love this pattern. It's the same pattern that's on this paper, just a little bit larger scale. So I thought I could cut 6x6 pieces, emboss them, and then add those to my background if I didn't have enough paper. But now I have more options because I have these full sheets that I hadn't planned on having. So the question is, how busy do I want to get if I'm going to have hearts going across? Oh, that could be a good option too. This is slightly different red. You can see it's more of an orangey red. I think this one is real red, and this is probably cherry cobbler. So you can see one definitely more like pinky toned, one's more of an orangey red. Because if I go too busy and then I have all the pattern hearts across, I feel like they're going to be competing. I love this pattern. And since I am doing Valentine's theme, I can use all the Valentine's-y things. But I just have a feeling like it's gonna compete. Now I could switch gears and do all of my hearts out of solid colors if I want to use a busy paper in the background. So I could do that. And then all the hearts that are going across would just be solid. I have some red left over here. I have some flirty flamingo left over here. I could grab some like cherry cobbler from my stash. So I could do that and have my die cut hearts be solid. Well, let's have a look at the photos, and maybe that'll give us a direction of which way I want to go here. So I know I have one extra photo in here because I had trouble deciding what I wanted to print. Okay, I'll just throw them on there for now. So then I would be bringing in some of these. I'm not sure that I want to bring the flamingo color in because in the photos I have all different shades. I think like this shade of pink would be better. It's okay if there's a little bit mixed in there, but I don't want to have too much of that color in there. And I think I like the cherry cobbler red a little bit more. Okay, I swapped out this side from the red just to see what it might look like with some more solid hearts and then this busier pattern in the background. And you know what? I think I'm a fan of this side better. So that's the direction we're going to go in. We're going to do this red pattern in the background and then little pieces of the other patterns all cut up into hearts. So here's how I've laid out my photos for now. I do have this one, which has a picture of her with her haul, opening all her presents. And I would kind of like to put that in there. It's part of this story. It doesn't necessarily go with the rest of it. I guess it does, like it's the same background and everything, but it's just a little bit messier. The rest of these are all really kind of, you know, like a photo shoot portrait kind of style. And then I have the journaling block, which I don't think I need all of the lines. I don't have that much to say, so I could kind of scoot it under there part of the way so I don't need all of it. So this I'm still debating on if I want to do that or if I just want to slide this under here like that. And then of course we're going to have the hearts going all along there. Then I was looking at a couple of title options. This is from the die cut sheet. And I'm just kind of trying to find a way to make these work. It's one thing I love about the workshop kits is with the stickers and the die cuts, it makes the scrapbooking process so much faster. I love die cutting and stamping and all those things, but it does add on time to the creative process. And so when I can just, boom, stick it on and I love it, it looks good, it makes my life just that much easier. So my suite in the actual set, there's another one that says little one. So it's supposed to say my sweet little one, but I don't have that second part on the extra sheet that I got and I don't want to take that away. Another option with all my heart, I would need to overlap the photo because it's a little bit longer. The other option I thought is I could do my sweet heart and have this overlay the hearts that are going here. That might be what I end up doing because that does actually work fairly good. Or I could like die cut another word to go here. I often call her my sweet girl, so I could die cut the word girl and slip those in there or even put them down here. But like I said, if I can make it easier, why not? I'm going to slip this one over here for now and just live with it on the page a little bit and see how I like it. I am going to want to map my photos. I typically always map my photos. And I was looking at what color I should do. And what kind of popped out to me is black. She's wearing black pants, so there's black in every photo. Frankie is partially black. And anywhere where it's overlapping the white, if I matted it in white, it's not going to show up. So it'll look like a half matted photo. Whereas if I do it in black, I think that should work out really good. Now when it comes to hearts, I do have a few hearts from this sheet that I could bring in. There's a couple like smaller ones there that I can use. And then I have this die set. This is the Hearts of Elegance. This is from last year, the last year's collection. And I do like that some of these have some like little piercing details on them. And then we have a few different sizes, which are good. And then I also have this one from Close to My Heart, which has like a stitched, it's a shaker one. It's meant for doing shakers. I have the star and the heart shaker windows, but it also has all this little confetti pieces that you can cut out if you want lots of little hearts. I did not pick up the set this year that goes with this collection called Endless Love. There is some really nice die cuts. This little swirly heart, I debated and debated whether to get it or not, and I decided no, I already have hearts, and I do regret that decision. So if you did get that set, it is still available if you're looking to add some hearts to your collection. It has some really fun arrows in it too. You never know. I might just add it to cart because even if I can't use it, on my current projects, it really does have some nice pieces in it. Sometimes there's just those sets that you waffle back and forth on. Should I not? And sometimes it turns out, yes, you should have. All right, I'm going to take this one and cut up a few of the hearts. I want 3 different sizes, like a small, medium, large, and then I'll start playing with arranging them on my page. I cut a variety of sizes and patterns, and now I decided that I think I want to ink the edges because I want the patterns to pop and not just all blend into each other. I'm using black ink and my mini ink blending tool. You could also use a dauber. I was looking for my daubers, but I couldn't find them anywhere, so I just grabbed my inking tool and I am trying to hit just the very edge. Gets a little bit tricky once I get to the center here, and I kind of have to bend it back and forth to reach the center of the heart. But this way I can get the ink just on the edge and help define it so that they kind of look like individual hearts, not just like a blob of pattern paper altogether. I'm liking how this is looking, so I'm going to keep going, do the edges of all my hearts, and then I'll be back. I ended up using 5 different dies from that one set. I wanted a good selection of sizes, and I just kind of kept cutting and cutting until I was happy with what I had. Oh, and then I used this one to make some really tiny little ones. And now I'm going to go ahead and put these through the center of my page. My goal here is just to separate the patterns so I don't have hearts next to each other that have the same pattern. And I'm thinking larger in the center and then tapering off to smaller hearts on the edges. At least that's kind of my general plan. I want it to, especially at the far ends. So the left page on the far left side kind of taper off. And then same on the right page for right side, sort of taper off. I am going to have one large heart that spans both pages, so I will need to attach that down and then cut it in half with a craft knife so that I have half on one page and half on the other, and it will kind of keep that design continuous. I'm doing that mostly because I use post-bound albums and my layouts sit really close. If you're using a D-ring, you might not want to cut, a heart in half. You want to make sure that you have the 2 pages separate. I'm also going to add some sticker things here, some little phrases. I had little tabs in the sketch, so I knew I wanted something there. And then I found a couple more pieces to bring over by my journaling. Now I'm going to bring in the Swirled design stamp set. I wanted to add some splatter, and I'm just going to test it out using black ink, that intense black. It's not super dark, and I like how that looks. That's my go-to to check how stamping is going to look, especially on my base page. I will stamp it on a scrap and then put the scrap piece onto the layout and see what I think. I like this, and it works really good kind of fading it off. I'm not going for perfection, so I'll stamp it 2 or 3 times without re-inking just to let the splatters kind of fade away. I want these to look like they're coming from underneath the hearts, and they're not going to be everywhere, but just kind of here and there to add a little extra something to the page. I almost forgot to mention I did end up double matting my photos. So you can see there is some white and some black. I originally started just with a black mat, but then I found because there's so much darkness in my photo at the top, I have that dark brown wood background, and it kind of got lost on the black mat. So I have a very thin white mat and then a black mat, and I think that works perfectly to help my photos pop against all the patterns and things going on and help them kind of stand apart from each other and draw your eye in. I'm almost done with my stamping here, and once I am, I always like to take a photo because when you go to start sticking all these embellishments down, it really helps to have a photo to look at so you get them back kind of in the spot that you intended them to be. Anytime I skip that step, I usually always regret it, especially when I have lots of little pieces like this that I've arranged in a particular way. I went ahead off camera, stuck everything down. I added some of those small hearts from the confetti die. You could see I added them in a few places around my page, up here by my little phrase sticker, and then around my large hearts as well. I did a variety of the red and the pink. And most of those hearts are flat, but the top ones I did put up on dimensionals. I thought it just gave it a little bit more interest to it and helped them stand out a little bit more. I did my journaling off camera as well. I'm really trying hard to get my journaling onto my pages when I'm making them. And then you could see my other page here. I did pop up the title pieces, so those are popped up as well. And I just think it helps give it a little bit of interest. I just try to make them not too high so that they're not making my albums lumpy or anything. Trying to fit as many pages as possible into my albums these days. I hope you enjoyed watching this layout come together, and if you'd like to see another Valentine's layout, I'll link you to this video here, which is a layout I did last year with the same heart dies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon with another video.